According to Woj, Michael Jordan is engaged in serious talks to sell a majority stake in the franchise to a group led by Hornets minority owner Gabe Plotkin and Atlanta Hawks minority owner Rick Schnall. So this is interesting. Michael Jordan, according to Woj, would still own a share of the Hornets, but he would no longer be the majority owner if he sells the team. I find this interesting only because Michael Jordan is a control freak. This is a man that likes to be in control of everything that he touches or he runs. That he's always been a man who gets frustrated when he doesn't have power and control. That was evident in his career when he was a basketball player, especially during the 90s when he was playing with the Bulls. His famous feud with just the owner, Jerry Reinsdorf, and the Bulls general manager Jerry Krause during the 90s, that he always clashed with those guys, and he was frustrated because he couldn't get what he wanted and he wanted to be the guy to run the show. So I think it's interesting because I also remember his situation with Washington during the early 2000s when he became part owner of the Wizards. I remember how frustrated he was that he couldn't have full control of operations, and how Abe Pollin always had the final say, who was the owner of the Wizards at the time, about what signings, trades would go down. I know Jordan was very bitter from the experience that when he retired for the last time from basketball, that he actually left the Wizards. One thing I always found interesting was this rumor that Kwame Brown brought up, and several sources have said that it could be true, that it actually could have happened, was that back in the day that Jordan didn't want Kwame Brown. He actually wanted to trade Kwame Brown for Elton Brand, who was a legit all-star during the early 2000s. But Abe Pollin at the last minute nixed the deal. He didn't allow Jordan to do the trade he wanted. Michael was very bitter about it. And that experience, from what I've heard, was one of the many reasons when Jordan got back into basketball, he wanted to be a majority owner. When he joined the Hornets, he actually started out as a minority owner. Then eventually he took over. He was gifted the team by the owner at the time, Rob Johnson. He got a sweetheart deal, which very few people would be able to get today when it comes to purchasing an NBA franchise. And you would think after he got that deal that he was going to own the Hornets forever. I believe that. I actually thought he would own the Hornets forever and pass the team down to his kids, that it was going to be a family operation, much like the Lakers have with the Buss family. But with this developing news, it's interesting that he would actually consider selling the team. It makes me wonder just the situation, why he wants to sell his majority stake. Is he just burnt out from trying to be a successful owner and he's finally realizing that he can't do it, that he's just not good at being an owner at all, and that it's just not suited for him? That could be the reason. It really could be. The Hornets under Michael Jordan have been terrible. They've only gone to the playoffs, I believe, 2 times. I think they've only gone to the playoffs 2 times, and both times they couldn't get out of the first round. They haven't had much success during his tenure. I think the only all-star they had during his tenure was Kemba Walker. And to me, Kemba Walker was not really a legit all-star. He was kind of one of those fringe all-stars that in some years, one guy gets lucky and he gets into the game, into the all-star game. But he really never really made good moves for the Hornets. They were always just at best a low playoff seed team that could get him barely as a 7th or 8th seed. But other years, they were just a lottery team. He just never could get them over the hump. Granted, the last few years, I don't think it was Michael Jordan's fault for the Hornets being bad. I actually thought he made some good moves, like getting LaMelo Ball, drafting him. That was a great draft pick that turned out to be a steal, just great as a number 3 pick. But you never know with these picks, that LaMelo turned out to be an all-star player. And I think the Warriors, looking back, regret not getting LaMelo when they had the chance at number 2. So this was a good pickup. Miles Bridges was a very good draft pick. I think Jordan was very unlucky this year with the situation of Miles Bridges, losing him. He was a key part of that Hornets team. And then LaMelo breaking his ankle. Just a lot of bad luck this year. But I'm just being fair. Last 2 years, 3 years, I don't think Jordan held them back. I think he was starting to mature as an owner and just allowing the basketball guys to make the moves. But I guess this is it for him, and maybe the money's too good to turn down. And it also just makes you wonder about Jordan's financial situation. Granted, I've heard he's over $1 billion, $2 billion in net worth, but you never know how that money's distributed. If when you do accounting and all the other stuff, it doesn't mean that they're that liquid. Who knows where all his money is being distributed? If he has some expenses he has to pay off or some of that stuff, just you never know. So I just find that interesting. And I just hope for the sake of Hornet fans and the city of Charlotte that if he does sell the team to these guys, that they become good owners in the sense that they're willing to make the right moves and trust the right people instead of meddling in it like he did. And they're also willing to spend money to be a championship team. But we'll see. We'll see what happens. That's all I have to say about it.